So, see, the paradox and strangeness of absolute truth is that since it's undivided by anyone's mind, it's one and it's singular. Therefore, you can't even speak about it in terms of validation, because usually the skeptics, what they're looking for is they're looking for some sort of external or other validation of the truth. This is a lot of what the game of science is. It's all about validation. So if, for example, if I discover something as a scientist, I might discover some fact, the speed of light, let's say I discover it's this, it's X. And then as a scientist, I'm trained to doubt that and to say, well, maybe I made some mistakes in my methodology. Maybe my experiment wasn't too good. So I need to get some other scientist who will independently verify, run the experiment himself, and then they will get some result Y. And only if X and Y match can we then agree that this is the true speed of light. And then, the more scientists we bring into this, the more of these independent experiments we do, eventually we can build a consensus of independent sort of cross-referencing experiments and ultimately reach some sort of truth. This is how science protects itself. But remember, this is all operating within the relativistic domain. And then we carry over these expectations. Remember, I warned you about this. We carry these over into the non-dual domain. And now we tend to want to do the same thing with absolute truth. And we tend to want to say, well, if there is this absolute truth and Leo, you've discovered it or somebody has discovered it. Okay, great. But then let's validate it. And what do I tell you? I tell you it can't be validated. And you say, well, if it can't be validated, it must be false. That's how it works in the relative domain. That's not how it works in the non-dual domain. Because in the non-dual domain, you can't validate the non-dual because validation itself requires two different observers, a division within reality, and two different experiments and two different results, and then combining those together into some sort of synthesis. This all involves duality and relativity. In the non-dual domain, there is no possibility of validation. You can't ask your neighbor to validate non-duality for you. Then, of course, you say, well, but Leo, if it can't be validated in the classical sense, then how can you ever know that it's true? And you think that that's a bug of this system. It's not. This is the core feature of non-duality, is that precisely because there's no other against which to validate it, whatever it is automatically makes it absolutely true. It's absolutely true by virtue of being completely one, singular, and sovereign. It's literally absolutely sovereign. That means it defines what it is. This is very strange, loopy, and foreign to those of us who are operating under the sort of dualistic, relativistic, materialistic way of looking at truth.